What we're going to do for this first presentation, we've got two others today, but for the first presentation, what I'd like for us to do is to do a little bit of reflection on the past 10 years of ministry students. And then we're going to look at the role that experience plays in the lives of these students, their personal experiences, their experience that they get through different ministry opportunities, short-term mission opportunities, and then how that plays into their calling, their training, but just the way that they reach out to others and really shapes their lives. And so I'll be talking about Baylor students, but this, especially the first part of this presentation, it's going to be interactive, so you can't fall asleep. I want you to be thinking about your ministry students, how they compare, how they differ from our Baylor students, and also just to help me, I've done some reflecting on what I think is happening with our Baylor students, but I also invite your perspectives as well as to what you think might be going through the minds of our Baylor students and then through the minds of your students as well. First of all, we'll be looking at some things that have not changed, and, well, one thing that has not changed, and then a number of things that have changed. So one of the things that has not changed over the past 10 years, this is from 2016 through 2025, one thing that has not changed is the percentage of male students and female students. This has stayed within 1 percentage point over the past 10 years. Basically, about 63% female students, ministry students, and 37% male students. Some years, the male students will go up to 38, some years down to 36, but has stayed pretty even over these 10 years. Now, I've been at Baylor a little over 20 years, and I can also say the previous 10 years were quite similar to this, about 37, 63 percentage. So, again, interactive. Let's stop here. How does this compare with your ministry student body? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Sometimes
So
it's
very
9
similar.
to 1. Sometimes it's 9 females to 1. I've had to beg a guy to go on a trip.
Wow.
Because I needed one guy.
Okay, okay, so more female students than male students. Would you
yeah.
say overall of your ministry students who are going to school,
Now,
what would be the percentage of
ministry
each?
students probably more closer to this. But
Okay.
overall students, way more women.
Okay, all right. Others? Jack, what is it at Truett?
Truett is a little inverse, probably. It's 60-40 the other way.
Okay, okay. So
Still.
at the seminary level, for Truett anyway, it has flipped over the other direction. Others?
That was true when Logston was in places seminary program. So,
Similar to
more men-
Truett
more
or-
men. No, more like Truett,
Yeah.
male,
Mhm.
female.
Okay, interesting.
We're about half.
About 50-50?
Usually Christian, 60-40 men.
Really, really? Okay, so even on the undergraduate level, and you've got a number of graduate programs there, is it similar? Does the number or percentage of men go up a little bit there?
About the same.
About the same, okay. What about way up north?
I would say it's like Truett as well, 60-40 men.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, you MHB?
Depends on what we call a ministry student.
Think about those on ministry scholarship.
That's similar.
So very similar to this. Okay. All right. Any others? Okay. All right. So have you also noticed that yours has stayed pretty similar through the years? Okay. So some things that haven't changed so much. Now here's something that has changed. Now this, when the students are applying to Baylor, they will on their application form, if they're interested in Christian ministry as a vocation, they have the option of choosing different areas of ministry interest. They can choose multiple areas of ministry interest. And this is what has happened over a 10-year period. Your observations. What's anything you notice here?
Is this freshman?
Well, these would actually, before they entered, that they're applying. But I would say it stays pretty similar as they are at Baylor, that the same kind
The
of,
two top lines that switched, can you
Yes,
verify which
uh-huh.
ones they are?
right.
Because
You've
the colors
got
are kind of thin.
youth ministry is the blue line, and over here you have missions.
Yeah.
And they've actually flipped
Yeah.
over those years.
Teaching is that bottom line, right?
What's that?
Teaching pastoral is that bottom line.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's
Preaching
right.
usually.
Yeah, preaching pastoral is the bottom line. So your observation there?
So it is rising a bit.
Rising a bit, yeah. That's impressive to me that the preaching pastoral area has gone from just about nothing, about 4% or so, and then on up to about 18%, right around there.
Okay. What I thought for quite some time is the youth minister, for better or for worse, is usually the key spiritual influence on the teenager, not the pastor. And because of that change, I think that's why pastoral ministry is not what it used to be. But and in many larger youth ministries, and even smaller ones, the mission trip is the key, one of the key focus
Exactly.
areas.
Mhm.
And I think that indicates that they're, and the youth minister is generally the only person speaking to a student about vocational call. And so they identify with their youth minister when it comes to vocational call, and that is all very closely tied to mission. And I think that's why, I mean, over 25 years, I would make that observation.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
On our surveys, when I was doing this, other was the biggest.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's changed. I know it's not on there.
Yeah.
But are they getting more specific now? I asked students one time, I got them in a group, and I said, why do you all keep checking other? And they said, we just don't want to be defined.
Yeah. We do have an other category, but it has stayed consistently around 3 or 4%,
Yeah.
right around there. But I think that's because they have the option of choosing multiple areas of interest.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that you will notice is that most of these lines are going up. We're going to look at this in a little bit greater detail in just a minute, but that's one of the things, is that students are choosing more areas. And I think, Bill, what you said just there, that they don't want to be defined. I think our students are keeping a lot of their options open, and so they're choosing multiple areas. But I'm glad that we have more interested in
That's
a
good.
variety of areas,
Right.
and especially that preaching pastoral area. And one of the things that I noticed is that among our female students, it used to be, in fact, it was less than 1% would check that box, preaching pastoral. And now that has gone up to, I think it's around 12% that have checked that area. Now, they will check other areas too, and by preaching pastoral, what many of them have in mind, because I will be talking with them, and many of them are not thinking senior pastor. We do have those that are thinking that, but many of them are thinking about, well, I see the women's ministers out there, and they are delivering these messages, and they have a lot of that in mind as they are thinking that preaching pastoral ministry. But certainly very interested. There were a number of our students, well, think about in junior high, high school, how this impacted them, and really struggling quite a bit. Many of them sought help through counselors. They realized how valuable that was, and then had this wanted to serve others in the same way. And I would say in a similar way, COVID affected missions as well, because missions shut down. Mission trips shut down altogether. And what we know is that as they go and they participate in, it really helps them visualize, gain experience, and then that eagerness to participate as well. I'm going to put, just give two examples here very briefly. Ella and Emmy. Ella grew up in New York City. Lots of anxiety during those COVID years, went to multiple therapists, did find help with that, but also she remarked both in her papers, but also her scholarship applications about how she really, she found all of the therapists helpful, but there was a faith component that was missing. And she really, especially as she kind of coupled this with those in her church, realized how important it is to put those together. And Emmy, in a similar way, her mental health issues were a little bit more extreme. She actually was put in institutionalized care. She had a severe eating disorder and was able to get the kind of therapy that helped her beyond that and really find healing. But she wasn't allowed to have a phone, but she had her Bible, and she just read her Bible all the time. And she also said that faith component coupled with all of the other medications and therapy really is what brought true healing for her and what she wants to do to help others. Okay, and just going back to missions a little bit, what happened, of course, we know when COVID hit, everything shut down. We were back in 1965, where only a few of those who were somewhere around the world, maybe on a Christmas mission trip and struggling to get back home, we had that. But I mean, everything just shut down, and even in 2021, 2022, it was just slowly beginning to crank back up. I would think we're not all the way back up to 2 million U.S. Christians going on international mission trips, but we're getting right about that area again.
And that's all ages. All ages.
Yeah, all ages there, yeah, all across the U.S. And so I think this has impacted the interest in missions, and I'm just going to go back to some earlier research about how the more mission trips that were done, the increased level of interest and desire to do missions, they're just very closely connected there. And then going back to my predecessors, very solid research about what ministry students were doing, and it's that experience that they have that impacts so much what they're interested in, what they can see themselves doing, and that's really, especially in more recent years, has been the thing that has influenced them the most. And so if they were involved in youth ministry and leadership positions, they could see that as a possibility. If they were going to counselors and seeing the value of that, that certainly highlights that. But anything that they're doing, including going on mission trips, really impacts not only their sense of calling, but what they can see themselves doing and equipping them for that particular kind of ministry. So let's look at a few more case studies. This is Bryce was a student in one of my cross-cultural ministry classes. I always do an ethnocentrism survey with the students. And his ethnocentrism score was 1.6 on a scale of 1 to 5. So pretty low, and that's a good thing. That means that he really has a great appreciation for other cultures. And, in talking with him and learning a little bit more about him, he really didn't grow up this way. He grew up in a suburb, an affluent suburb outside of Houston. His community was not very diverse, and he was not all that open to those that were different from him. But something happened after his freshman year at Baylor. He had gone on a mission trip to Northern Africa, one of the cities in North Africa, and he wrote in his scholarship application, he said, "This radically changed me." And it did. It radically changed him to the point where when he came back, and he said, "This is what I want to do. This is what God has called me to do." And he started learning Arabic. When he came back, he immediately started taking Arabic classes at Baylor, went on a second mission trip after his sophomore year, and was even able to use his Arabic. A few of the students in his group were having a dispute with somebody who had sold them a SIM card, but they were actually, the group was at fault. They hadn't paid the right amount for it, but he used his Arabic to be able to resolve the situation. And he just said, "This is what I want to do for the rest of my life," not solve disputes in Arabic, but do missions. And what's really impressive, and what I always like to see, is that when he came back, he was much more open to those in his Baylor community, back home, in the way that he would reach out to others, befriend others, share with others, rather than staying in his own little silo. Then there was Maddie, also a student in one of my cross-cultural ministry classes. Maddie's ethnocentrism score was 1.06, so virtually about the lowest. I think there was one question on there where she had just one position off, which means she has a great appreciation for others, even more so than her own home culture, her birth culture. And what had changed her, she had been on 9 mission trips by the time she got to my class. And of those trips, 5 of them were international trips. 3 of those 5, maybe 4 of those 5, were to Mexico, where she was tutoring, she was working with children that were living in poverty. And just like Bryce, she said, "I knew this is what God had for me to do the rest of my life." She said, "I'm not good with languages, but my Spanish was so bad that my first trip, it frustrated me." And she is also studying Spanish at Baylor, and now she is, she said, almost fluent in Spanish, which has been quite an accomplishment for her. And again, she is not just doing this in Mexico, but right there in Waco, she is working with one of the centers that works with refugees, immigrants, and tutoring in English, and just working with those families and getting to know them and sharing with them. And then, very quickly, Grace, this is a little bit different. She actually started her cross-cultural ministry, missions ministry, back when she was, I think, in the 5th grade. Her mother was taking her to a tutoring center in St. Louis, and they were working with refugees there. She eventually started a micro business there for those refugees, and they had 10 employees and were making about $50,000 a year, but it was helping them have some money that they could earn. And then she took what she knew from working with immigrants here in the U.S., went to India, started a micro business there, then spent time in Europe through one of Baylor's study abroad programs, working with refugees in Western Europe, and is now back in Waco, working again with refugees, asylum seekers in a shelter there. And one last one, I know I've only got 60 seconds, Ken, but let me tell you about Ben, because we'll do home missions as well. Ben grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, had a real heart for those that were marginalized, and that was part of his experience as junior high or high school, and just continued that, where he would find those in his high school that he would reach out to, but also when he got to Waco, became a member of Church Under the Bridge, working with Mission Waco, did his internship at Mission Waco, and is graduating soon, but plans to continue working with either Mission Waco or similar type ministry, where he's reaching out to those that are marginalized, living in poverty, those that are often the outcast of society. So just all of this overall message, how the experience impacts what they're doing and how they're doing that, and how there's a lot of interplay back and forth through the years. Okay.